This tutorial covers how to add material to an IRplus repository, a function we call publishing. Part 1, adding files and information. This flowchart gives you an overview of the 4 steps in the publishing process. You need to have the files you want to publish in your workspace. You click a Publish button. You add files, add information, add the names of contributors and what they did, and then step 4, you can either submit to a collection, or if you simply click Finish Later, you will still have a personal publication. We'll go over that in Part 2. The first step in adding something, of course, is you do need to be logged in. The material you want to add needs to be in your workspace. For this demonstration, I'm using an alternate account on our development system. I'm going to go into the Files and Folders view of my workspace. Here's my workspace, and this folder called Current Project Files contains the files I want to publish. There are 3 of them. Now I could simply go over and click the Publish button over here to start the process. I could start it using the Publish function in any individual drop-down, or if I go back up 1 level, I can use the drop-down for the folder to publish all the contents at once. This is very handy. The first thing that happens is that you have to name the publication. If the name begins with an article, a, an, the, that goes in a separate field. That's just so that things sort properly later. So I'll fill in the title of my publication and submit. Now you're launched into the publication process. The first step is to add files. On the right, under the tan bar, you can see the files that have already been added. On the left, under the aqua bar, you see your files system. So if there were any files you hadn't added, you could do it here. And in fact, every publication ought to have a cute picture of a hedgehog, so I'm going to add that right here. I just click Add. So now I have 4 files in my publication. I can organize them in any order I want with the up and down arrows, which is very handy. Let's get that hedgehog up there. Good. I can add descriptions in the fields if I want. And then move on to the next step. In step 2, we add information about the publication. This is a long screen. Don't be intimidated. You only have to add as much information as you want. If your publication has images, you get to indicate which image you want to be the primary image file for the publication. The title you've already filled in. The abstract goes in this field. It's very handy because you can simply open the work and copy and paste the abstract from it if there is one. I added a description. It's useful if it's something like a conference paper to put in the information about the conference. This is not a thesis, so I don't check that box. The presentation type, it's a presentation, publication type rather. You don't have to choose a secondary type, but I did, just for demo purposes. Series, if it doesn't apply, ignore it. Identifiers, probably ignore it. Extent is a fancy library word for things like how big it is, the number of pages. That might be useful to people. Language, copyright statement. I use our normal copyright statement for our repository. Subject keywords. These are good, and you as the author are the best person to put these in. If your work was sponsored by a grant, you might list that here. Now, there are 3 fields for date. If it's a new publication, simply fill in the first field. If it's something you wanted to embargo, like a thesis, you could fill in the date you wanted to make it available. The third field is for historical materials, originally created at such a date, now made available online. If the item had been previously published, ignore these other date fields and choose Yes here. We'll go on to the next steps in the next video.